Roll tape.
Because there's no flying in baseball. There's no flying in baseball. No flying.
So what I do is I start tackling the quarterback unless he get the ball to somebody else, in which case I start tackling that person.
Say hey. Who Mays Hayes here? Play like Mays, and I run like Hayes. How you doing?
The greatest sports movies with the greatest sports minds. Kinda.
Either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Get your popcorn ready.
Get your popcorn ready with the DA Show.
All right, so we begin here. This movie is about LeBron James and the relationship with his son, Dom. And Dom doesn't want to play basketball, but LeBron's pushing him to play basketball. Dom wants to be a video game designer and has designed his own game, and LeBron's kind of ignoring it, and they have this friction, which then kind of sets the tone for the rest of the movie. Number one here, guys, you guys are dads. I'm not, but I thought LeBron was being a really bad dad. I mean, I know that he wants Dom to be a basketball player, but to ignore your son who designed a pretty badass video game, it wasn't like this was Pong. This was a pretty good video game with graphics and bonus points and crazy levels, and LeBron like doesn't care about it. I'm like, you know what, LeBron, you got too much focus on Clutch Sports and this and that and Rich Paul. You got to note that your son is designing a pretty awesome video game.
Especially since the background of the video game, DA, is basketball, right? You wanted your son to be involved in basketball. He's still using you, idolizing you, including your shot in the game and everything. You were learning this, and you still don't care. It's not like he made a new Mortal Kombat. He made a basketball game.
Now, LeBron was present. LeBron was in the home. LeBron was there coaching his kids and trying to instill some work ethic, Bogues. But, you know, if your son is like, hey, Dad, I just designed basically NBA Jam 2 at 12 years old, I think it's up to you as a dad to notice.
Yeah, and that was going to be my point, though. I'm glad you mentioned that. I would want to question Dom about where his inspiration for this game was. It did seem to be a little bit too much like NBA Jam, and they might have been kind of stealing their idea. But yeah, you've got to be more in tune to, you got to let your kids like what they like and then be there to support that. And maybe they'll come back to you because all of a sudden out of nowhere, my 7-year-old son loves baseball, will not stop talking about it, questions, let's go to games, I want to watch games, after he couldn't care less about it like on May 3rd. And here we are on August 3rd, and he loves it. If you give them time, give them space, they usually come back to you, and you can get your way in the end as well.
He's pressing a little bit too hard here. Now, the villain here is Don Cheadle, who plays a character named Algae Rhythm.
Right.
As in algorithm.
Yes.
Because, and this was very tough for me, I couldn't tell what was quite happening. Algae Rhythm was a guy in the Warner Brothers cyberspace server that was what? What would
he kind of was the wizard that controlled all the Warner Brother worlds, but he also pitched ideas. I guess he would be like Warner Brothers version of Siri that pitched ideas or spoke. And he didn't like, obviously, that LeBron had shot down this idea about movies, and that really angered him about all the hard work he had put in.
But so are we meant to believe that there's one guy like Don Cheadle that controls the servers or the clouds or the inner space of all these companies? Is this just one guy? And do all of these algae rhythms, like, does MGM Studios have an algae rhythm?
Disney Plus, do they have an algae rhythm?
Does Pixar have an algae rhythm?
Wait, you thought he was a real person? Isn't he in the computer? Isn't he an algorithm? Isn't he a computer system that tells them, that spits out ideas? Like, he's not a real flesh and bones person, right?
Well,
I mean, that's not how I viewed him as.
He's not a person inside a computer. It's not like they built a computer around a real person, but he's played by Don Cheadle, not like a cartoon character.
He has
but it's a computer.
He speaks to them in a boardroom. He has a voice. He has an outline of a face that pops through in these meetings. He might be an algorithm, but he's an algorithm with life form.
It struck me that kids must be way smarter today than they've ever been, because I couldn't follow this part of it. And Space Jam 2, Space Jam 1 was 1996. I don't think you can get away in 1996 by doing some type of off-the-wall algorithm joke. Like kids wouldn't know what an algorithm was. Algae Rhythm is not a punchline in 1996.
No, and in 1996, he got sucked down a golf hole into Looney Tunes world, and it was okay. Now we needed an hour explanation about Algae Rhythm and how we're getting to this world now.
There is a moment where Dom is on the bed, I think. He's sitting on the bed, and LeBron is once again kind of pushing him to play basketball, or maybe they're actually on the court. And essentially, Dom drops the basketball, walks away, and says, "Remember fun, Dad?" And that just gets right to the heart of things. Like, Dad forgot about having fun, and this is just a kid who wants to have fun. And I thought this goes down in history with some of the LeBron quotes of all time, both for and against him. You know, shut up and dribble is attached to LeBron. He told Kevin Love to fit in or fit out or something like that. There's been a lot of like LeBron quotes. I think remember fun, Dad is got to go in the pantheon of LeBron quotes, both for and against.
Because that one's going to sting the most on a personal level. And I think it stings with a lot of dads when you watch like, oh, I have to remember this.
You know, what hurts more for LeBron prior to going to Miami, not winning an NBA championship, or remember fun, Dad?
Remember fun, Dad, I think.
Folks.
I mean, it is probably the worst thing your kid could say to you, and this kid dropped it on LeBron for all of us to see as well.
I've got some. Ultimately, this culminates in a championship game against a team called the Goon Squad. Okay, and I don't want to give away the entire movie because this is the one movie that we are reviewing that was not 14 years old. So I don't want to give it all away. But before we get to the Goon Squad championship game, Merez, you've got some thoughts leading up to that.
Well, I first of all, in preparation, we got to get used to these uniforms. That's number one.
Yeah.
The Toon Squad uniforms from 1996 are so clean cut. They're white. Toon Squad is in blue. You have kind of that little target on there. The team looks sharp. They look clean. They look like a basketball was supposed to be played in Looney Tune world. And here we are all these years later. And it's like, did Nike get a hold of these things? There's this huge, gaudy orange target. Now the jerseys have a blue backdrop. It's Toon Squad.
It's like a teal backdrop.
Yeah, look, it's almost like when we looked at the Bucks wearing blue with the Rivers now. It's like, just stick to your classics. We don't have to go away from the classics. Is this the two-tone Jaguars helmet? Nike couldn't even leave the Toon Squad jerseys alone.
And how about when LeBron falls into Toon Universe and leaves the crater and it's the Nike swoosh?
Oh,
I think Nike did get a hold of the Toon Squad uniforms where the big Looney Tunes target that like Bugs comes out of is now all around the side of his, more than the side.
Yeah.
It's like basically it's stained, an ink stain across his jersey.
It's unbelievable. And DA, probably the most important thing, he basically has a day in Looney Tune world to prepare his team after Bugs goes in Marvin the Martian's spaceship and picks up this crew of ragtag guys that come back around like it's 1996 again. And they make alterations to the lineup we saw in 96 that already won a big game. They had big game DNA. And instead, Daffy Duck now is on the bench as a coach. Why? I don't know. I don't know if this was an ode to LeBron's really the coach like he always is. And there's Daffy Duck now on the side. So Daffy Duck out of the starting lineup. That's enormous in that spot. Then suddenly we also, I think we get Sylvester. No, it was the Tasmanian Devil out of the starting lineup off the bench.
He's on the bench now.
There were two replacements in the starting lineup. Porky Pig. He's a pig. He's rotund. He has hooves. He can't handle. He has no handle. This is supposed to be what, a small forward, a wing that's supposed to shoot? Like, he's not Otto Porter here. He's Otto Porky. That's a problem for me. Number two, this depth on this lineup. You mean to tell me that Tweety Bird makes the starting five? I mean, is this like when Derrick Rose got traded to the Knicks because his name's Derrick Rose? He had to play. Tweety Bird's not giving you 30. He's not dropping buckets like that. Tweety Bird also can't handle the ball. He already flies. He's too small to carry an alley-oop if he was flying through the air. LeBron and Daffy Duck have to come together and agree on a decent starting lineup. And you don't want to give away the ending, but you know what? Roadrunner comes off the bench and they act like, oh my goodness, what a great sixth man. He's got all this speed. Tasmanian Double Taz got to do his thing. He's spinning around. He's got all unbelievable moves. How are these two not logging starters minutes? You have Tweety Bird on the floor as a starter. It doesn't make any sense. This is why people get frustrated with LeBron versus Jordan. Jordan didn't make the mistake of having Tweety Bird in the starting lineup, And LeBron did. LeBron wants to be the greatest of all time. He can't put Tweety Bird in the starting lineup. I'm sorry, drove me nuts.
Also, we all know that LeBron needs to be surrounded by shooters. Tweety Bird's not a shooter there.
No, he's smaller than the ball. How can you shoot if you're smaller than the ball?
Now we get to this championship game against the Goon Squad, and the Goon Squad is exactly that, a bunch of goons. There comes a moment where at halftime, the Goon Squad leads by, I think, 1,000,000 points. I think it's 1 million.
I don't know if it was 1,000,000. I think it might have been 10,000, 1,000.
10,000.
The scoreboard got a little wonky.
It seemed insurmountable.
It did. Now, at this point, I don't love the broadcast team. I don't really love Ernie Johnson, the play-by-play. I'm not digging the color analyst either.
The guy from Get Out. I forgot his name.
The guy from Get Out. It's not my favorite NBA booth.
They didn't have much preparation. They were in their phone and got zapped in, and suddenly they got thrown right to a call with no chemistry trial.
I needed Marv there. I'm sorry. I need Marv or Harlan to call this game. I'm like, this does not feel like a big game if Ernie and the guy from Get Out are calling the game.
Can we get Van Gundy?
It's like an NBA TV game at that point.
Yes.
I don't feel like this is the NBA Finals or a really big game where LeBron either gets to become human again with his child or stays inside a matrix for the rest of his life.
Yeah, this was my Tweety Bird in the starting lineup. We already know Ernie Johnson's not a play-by-play guy. He might be the best studio host ever, but from baseball playoffs, we know calling games is not his thing. You got to pull somebody in, like you said. Even give me Noah Eagle if I can't get Ian in that situation over Ernie.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk to Stephen Murray, speaking of video games, who's a voice for EA Sports and the game Knockout City. And then we'll get back into more Mothership at the movies, because plenty more on Space Jam 2 straight ahead. Mothership at the movies, part 2. Space Jam 2, starring LeBron James. So we get to the championship game, and the Goon Squad is leading the Toon Squad with LeBron by like 10,000 points at the half. And then, as you might imagine, spoiler alert, Toon Squad gets on fire in the second half. And to me, this is where LeBron's Hall of Fame credentials come into play. Great halftime adjustment guy. At halftime, he realized the way that we're playing in the first half is not going to get it done. And so, Toons, you just get Toony. Just go total Toon. And I thought allowing the Toons to step up is a little bit like encouraging Kyrie to be better, encouraging Kevin Love to be better, encouraging J.R. Smith to be better, making sure your role players can also develop and deliver the goods. And so that, to me, was a real check mark in his column. But I thought the turning point of the second half was actually the rap battle. At some point in time, because Don Cheadle / Algae Rhythm says something that kind of rhymes, he unwittingly steps into like a hip-hop bonus, which causes Porky Pig to go into rap battle. Now, I give LeBron a lot of credit. He gave Porky the stage, and this is how Porky delivered.
What up? It's Porky Pig. They call me P-double. Algae step to me. He don't want no trouble. I was famous before the internet. Since 1935, I've been getting respect. The street is lit. I'm super legit. Every time I'm out in public, people asking me for pics. Nobody knows you when you walk the street. How your last name Rhythm and you're still off beat. From beginning to the end, I'm here for all the smoke. Your squad ain't all star. Your squad is all jokes. And just with one bar, most famous of all quotes. This battle is now over. That's all, folks.
Now, I thought his best line was, your last name's Rhythm, but you're still off beat. I think that's what he said to Algae Rhythm. That, to me, is a big one. And then also ending with the that's all, folks, is a pretty solid final line.
Yeah, and also reminding everybody, he's been around since before the internet, so ain't nobody going to shake him out of his moves.
So this gives the Toon Squad an enormous boost. It gives them like 5,000 points or something like this. And it's the turning point in the second half, because now they've closed the gap to within striking distance. It's like getting like a 14-point lead to like 6 or 7. Now you feel like you're only a couple of buckets away. My problem here, though, is how does the Toon Squad not, upon learning this, just go, okay, rap battle only? We're just doing rap battle, because It's goons. The goons can't rap. Porky has already killed it. Just keep putting Porky out there and win that way. You don't even play basketball.
So you want him to kind of be like TJ Oshie was in the shootout in that Olympics. Again, who knows where that happened. We don't know the rules, though. This is Dom's game. Maybe Porky's only allowed one rap battle per game. Do you have confidence in Sylvester or Granny stepping up to the plate and having a rap battle win there? By the way, thank goodness Porky contributed something with his starters minutes.
The thing, though, is that you can make up such a huge part of the deficit in such a short amount of time. Porky goes up there and I think makes up like 4,000 or 5,000 points in one fell swoop. That's way bigger than any alley-oop to Lola Bunny.
You're right. But again, I don't know. This might be a one-time user play usage. The rules of the game are a little odd. Diana Taurasi is a snake. You're right. Probably not winning a rap battle.
I did think that LeBron and Lola had really good chemistry. She throws him the alley-oop. He leads her for a nice bucket. I thought out of all of the teammates, Lola and LeBron had the best chemistry.
It's natural with Lola. Lola has always been the best handle of any of the Toon Squad members. She doesn't chase rings. Rings chase her. That's the way I would look at it.
That's my final recap of it. Got anything else that you want to add here?
Yeah. I mean, look, they played quick in transition. When Granny came in, she really slowed things down with the walker, but then showed that her life in the Matrix universe came through. I thought that was a big critical moment. And then also, look, you can't have the hype of Dame Time entering the floor where he could literally stop time to dunk on you and then somehow only materialize 30 to 40 points in a game, as you mentioned, where rap battles can get you 5,000. It seemed a little off, that game plan in the second half of the Goon Squad.
AB, any final thoughts on Space Jam 2?
I mean, the Goon Squad certainly opened up the door. Again, that lead at halftime, 10,000, 1 million. It seemed like no one could come back, but LeBron came back, and Sean made the comparison in our first segment. You want to be Jordan. You can't do this. You can't do that. Well, I've never seen Jordan erase a 10,000 point or a 1 million point hole. Plus,
Fair.
Porky started, but then he was there because he started to win the rap battle. So you can crush LeBron's decisions, but in the end, LeBron's decisions got LeBron back to the real world.
Ultimately, the Toon Squad pulls it out against Spoiler Alert, meaning LeBron and Dom can go back to the real world, and LeBron obviously embraces Dom's video game designer career, and they end up having a really solid father-son relationship. Final question, guys. Better comeback, down 3-1 to the Warriors for LeBron or down 10,000 points to the Goon Squad?
It's got to be this, then 10,000 points to the Goon Squad, because LeBron didn't even know the rules, and that's big.
Hey, Bay, would you agree?
I mean, I almost want to say that Warriors team was better than this Goon Squad team.
That's actually true.
Well, they had a better version of Klay Thompson on the Goon Squad.
Plus, it was 3 games, not a one-off situation. So that was a long, multiple-day comeback from LeBron and those Cavs.
It's true. I think this one's bigger, though, because the stakes were higher. That was just an NBA Finals. This was getting your child back and becoming human again.
That's a good point.